So, so one of the questions that I'm currently wrestling with now is, and I'd like to get your 2 cents on this, is what do you feel is the largest obstacle to an actor's development as a person, and also as a vocational skill?
I think someone asked me a question like this some time ago in a different way. And I'm also thinking of the obstacles that I faced when I was starting out. I think it goes back to that question of the industry. I think it goes back to that one of the greatest obstacles is a preconceived idea of what being an actor is, based on industry models or based on results or outcomes rather than process.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest obstacles is endgaming, is is pulling yourself out of the moment or the process because you're impatient to arrive at an idea of a result,
Hmm.
because your models for acting are based on what you've seen experienced actors doing, but you don't realize what they had to do to get there. Um, and certainly with students, that tends to be one of the biggest obstacles, is that it's that whole thing in acting training, isn't it? And in acting, it's about being in the moment, is that inability to just work out of the present, to work out of the now. And my own background in body mind practices and yoga has really helped me with that. And I inflect a lot of what I do in my own teaching. I draw a lot of influence from body mind practices and yoga and martial practices, because I really, really think that it is an art in itself, just getting an 18-year-old who wants to be an actor just to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the ambition and the aspiration to be an actor actually is the very thing that gets in the way of you being an actor.
Mm-mm-mm. Mm.
And it's that idea of acting as a practice, as a process and a practice, rather than a profession or a thing. So if you practice yoga, you practice tai chi, or you practice those things, you're not thinking, what can I do with this?
Mm-mm.
Where will this get me? You're just thinking, where am I? Am I here? Am I breathing? Am I present? How am I relating? You're thinking, and really all acting training, one could argue, all body mind practices are all about pulling you into the now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what great acting is,
Yep.
you know. So I think, to answer your question, I think the obstacle is endgaming, is
Mm.
um, is rushing towards a result.
I'm gonna jump off the back of that, and because I've been contemplating this question for a couple of weeks now, in preparation for this, because one of the things which I've come to as a, not as a conclusion necessarily, but as like sort of a something that I can pin down finally, is that the biggest danger to an actor in an emotional sense, and a psychological sense,
Mm.
is bitterness. And I think this echoes. It's got a bit of the echo of endgaming in there, where we kind of, if we look at the nature of bitterness as an emotion, right?
Mm.
It is this sense that, okay, there is an outcome to be derived from this thing, yeah, and that immediately makes unavoidably visible the gap between the present moment and that end
Mm.
game, right?
Mm.
But what bitterness does is it hyper focuses into the gap. So the actor is now living in a state of lack,
Mm.
and what ends up happening is that it's not the same thing as feeling disappointed, or feeling a sense of yearning. I think bitterness itself is very particular in the sense that it mobilizes a lot of the forces and energy that are required to act in the moment, um, and move them from a place of lack closer towards this preconceived outcome. So all the energy that could be used and embraced and acknowledged in a moment on stage or off becomes, for lack of a better word, perverted towards proving a point, or trying to make something of themselves in that moment that is actually defined by something in the psyche in the background, and I don't know how I'm not sure how this works in the sort of like Western UK locus of thinking, but at least in my country, in the Singaporean background where I come from, when you tell your parents, I want to be an actor, right? It sets off red flags, like, hey, how are you gonna eat? How are you going to make a living? Whereas I got a big culture shock when I was in the UK, to immediately meet like quite a few of my classmates who have dreamed of going to drama school and whose parents are completely supportive of that and really wanted to move that forward. And I feel like they got a lot out of the training because there was that one less obstacle to overcome, and when bitterness is allowed to fester in an actor, or in a human being, then what inevitably happens is an accumulation of lag. It starts to delay the actor away further and further from the present moment of what is actually happening. And I think that is one of those things that is just going to cause the actor to, not be able to click in as much, and why I put so much emphasis on meditative practice, whether it's physical or really a mental investigation of the self, is to reduce that lag, come back to where we are now today. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can only work with what you are and where you are now. I mean, that's the simple reality of it. Is that's all you've got, is where you are at that moment. It's a question of how you channel that, and it's a question of addressing your need. You'll know from working with Kate Payne and also myself working with members of the work center, etc. A really, really, really key question underlying all of that work is, what do I need? What do I need today? And what I need today may not be what I needed yesterday.
Or 5 minutes ago, for that matter.
Or 5 minutes ago. Yeah. So, and it's that diving into that voice and it's that autodidactic way of developing oneself as an actor. It's the idea of what's necessary. What do I need today? What's my question today? For what? For whom am I doing this?